The past few months, multiple times, I've mentioned that I've stopped doing dips. Not only that, but I've also mentioned in some cases how the exercise is actually overrated. Some of you agreed, most of you didn't. But today I figured that I'll actually do a video of why I actually stopped doing dips alongside with everything I'm doing other than it, so that you guys can get the full story and perspective. Now first, let me clarify, I think dips are a great exercise. I'm not demonizing dips whatsoever, and it's not that I stopped doing dips themselves, but it's more so heavy weighted dips. That's the catalyst, not the dip exercise itself. Let me tell you guys the story of how this all happened in the first place. So me, myself, I've been doing weighted dips for years. I remember back in my college days, loading up 3 plates on the belt, doing it for 5 sets of 5. And then even at one time, I remember doing 4 plates, which if you guys don't know, that's a total of 180 pounds. I would do it for like 2 to 3 reps. And the reason why I included it in my routine is because, the dips is taught as one of those basic progressional exercises. So I thought to myself, like, I get good at dips, much like a push-up, you change up the variation or you add weight. With dips, there's not a lot of variations you can do. So the next best thing was obviously to add weight. So I did it for years. This happened probably like a year and a half ago. I remember I was loading up 3 plates once again. I was doing it for like a set of 6, and I already did 1 set. And then I did the second set. And then I was supersetting it with dive bomber push-ups. And so I got off my second set, and then as I'm doing the dive bomber push-up, I felt this intense sternum pain to where it felt like it just progressively started getting worse as I'm doing the reps. And I'm like, damn, like I can't even push myself up anymore. And then I got off, and then I was stretching. I was like, what is this pain in my sternum? Like it literally felt like somebody grabbed a hammer and just bashed in my sternum. That's how bad it felt. I obviously had to stop the set. I had to literally go home because not only could I not push myself up anymore, and I definitely couldn't do a dip, but I couldn't lift my arm up. Like it was a very fast sort of onset injury. I immediately went back to my computer, self-diagnostics. And then lo and behold, I came across that I had what's called costochondritis. I mentioned this before, but costochondritis is basically inflammation of the cartilage that connects your sternum to your rib cage. So this is exactly what happened to me as I was doing the exercise. Now, clearly from there, I had to stop doing dips altogether. I even had to take a break from the whole entire gym for a week. And if you guys are curious on how I actually managed and fixed that, I actually started using this thing called a back pod. You don't necessarily have to use the original back pod, but I would lay on this probably 10 to 20 minutes a day, first thing in the morning and then also at night. Took a break, and then slowly but surely my sternum fully healed, and I was able to actually go back in the gym, do pull-ups. And from there, I haven't really had a problem with it since, unless I'm doing some sort of sternum heavy exercise with no warm-up. So for example, if I go right in the gym right now and I do like planche push-ups, or definitely if I load up heavy weighted dips, I'll start to feel the pain again. But so far, the past year and a half, 2 years, I've been pretty good. Now let's be real, you can get injured doing any sort of exercise, right? Because a lot of guys were mentioning how, with this logic and theory, I might as well stop doing anything that gives me some sort of injury. And while that could be the case, and that's the case for a lot of people, more specifically, the weighted dip itself tends to bring a lot of injuries, not only towards me, but to multiple people who I've talked to. Like this is a very common injury, especially amongst weighted calisthenics athletes. People who competitively want to do the weighted dip, they always come across this injury. So I saw this as a sign like, hey, it's probably not an exercise or a movement that I would want to continue to do if I want to prolong my time in the gym and overall just my fitness ability, right? You got to make smart decisions and smart choices, and sometimes that comes with putting in a permanent substitute to an exercise that could potentially bring you injury. Now, speaking of injury, I'm actually going through another one right now. I actually have some golfer's elbow from doing pull-ups, heavy weighted pull-ups, right? Now, the thing about heavy weighted pull-ups versus dips is, am I gonna stop doing heavy weighted pull-ups once this heals? Absolutely not. That's because the pull-up is a less of a substitutional exercise than a weighted dip is. And yes, we're gonna get into why I think that here soon. Another big example is back squats or even deadlifts. A lot of bodybuilders and a lot of people who have experienced injuries or maybe want to be proactive against injuries don't back squat. What do? They use machines instead. They use a Smith machine instead because they know they've seen Ronnie Coleman squatting 700, 800 pounds and getting herniated disc and not being able to walk. So though you can do it, is it a smart decision to do so? And that's where you got to be more mature in your decisions when it comes to overall your exercise selection, and sometimes kind of throw away your ego and think about the long-term future. And that's what I've been having to do now, getting to the ripe old age of 30, guys. Like, I remember when I was 19, 20, 21, I can train high volume, do all these exercises with no injury, no warm up. But slowly over time, I'm like, damn, like my knees hurting after squatting, or oh, my hips hurt after leg day, or my elbows hurt after doing pull-ups, man. It's just a natural progression of the body. And if you guys are young right now, you probably won't experience or understand what I'm talking about. But wait until you get older, 25, 26, 27, definitely in your 30s and 40s, you'll see exactly what I mean. You'll start to make substitutes also. Now, I did mention how the dip is overrated, and I need to explain myself fully with this. But first, I do believe that the dip is a great foundational exercise, as I said before, for beginners. If you're just getting started in fitness, calisthenics, weightlifting, wherever it may be, everybody should have a strength standard for themselves to be able to do 15 dips. Dips is one of those foundational exercises that if you can't do like 15, then in my opinion, you're still very novice in your strength. But once you get past 15, it's more so keep doing dips if you specifically want to get better at dips. But once you get past 15 reps, I believe the dip is one of those exercises where unless you specifically want to get better at heavy-weighted dips, it's not necessarily needed. Now let's talk about carryover strength, because within calisthenics, there are a lot of exercises that will give you basically a more bang for your buck, meaning that if you do this one exercise, you'll be able to learn other exercises from it, and other exercises will benefit from it. Unfortunately, the dip isn't always one of those exercises. I mentioned this before too, but if you want to get better at dip, for example, all you really have to do are pseudo planche push-ups or any planche push-up progression, and I guarantee you your dips are gonna go up. Also, flat bench press. Any sort of horizontal pushing movement that is strength focused is gonna play a carryover into your dips. However, getting a heavy-weighted dip, is that gonna play over into a better planche push-up? Maybe from a basic foundational standpoint, but the carryover I believe won't be as strong as the vice versa. And in fact, I remember meeting up with fitness FAQs, and I remember we were doing a video where we're doing like the dip competition, and I asked him, I was like, bro, like, do you do a lot of dips? And I remember him telling me that his focus was a lot on handstand push-ups and other vertical pressing movements. And so for that reason, dips really couldn't be put into his routine on a consistent basis because he didn't find no value or benefit from them outside of where his strength already lays within it. So even then, early on, I was like, so maybe dips is a little bit overrated. I mean, Daniel doesn't even do them. And then also recently I decided to reach out to somebody who actually coaches this stuff. He's capable of handstand, planche push-ups, dips, even learned a one-arm handstand before. And he goes by the name of The Mindful Mover. You guys should actually check out his Instagram page. It's very insightful on a lot of calisthenics skill tips and strength tips and all that stuff. But recently I asked him, I was like, what's your opinion on the dip exercise? Is it overrated in terms of strength, in terms of even building muscle? Because a lot of you guys will give me that objection like, hey, it's about building muscle, it's not even about strength. So let's read what he says. He says, if you're doing a planche push-up plus a vertical push, your dips will go up by themselves in the background and the strength gains will be there. On the other hand, as your dips go up, your planche push-up doesn't go up. So for me, the question is, why would I work on dips and gain on dips when I can work on planche push-ups and get on planche push-ups plus dips plus press handstands, plus 90-degree push-ups, plus the list could go on forever. I'd like having the option of working two different jobs that are the same amount of work, but one pays less. Why would we choose that? And then he said, and if it's for mass gains, anything can work for that. Someone could do enough pec deck and get mass gains, so we're trying to get that with the strength too. So even from his perspective, which I've seen other videos of him talking about this, it's a fact how even him himself, outside of just the foundational building up, 10, 15 reps of dips, unless you specifically want to get better at dips, they're just better alternatives to do so. Now, me personally, let's talk about from a muscularity standpoint. Think about what the weighted dip actually works. It's primarily lower chest and triceps and shoulders. Shoulders, we got enough volume with that. All the pressing, the shoulder presses, the handstand push-ups, we got enough volume for our shoulders. Lower chest. My lower chest is honestly too big. In fact, the first reason why I stopped doing dips is because I realized my lower chest was way overpowering my upper chest, and that's because I was doing planche push-ups, I was doing heavy weighted dips, and for that reason, I built too much mass. And from my aesthetical perspective, I was like, yo, I had to stop doing dips. This is even before I got the injury. And then of course, you already know, triceps looking nice, and plus there's other exercises that will work the tricep and practically more efficient ways. So if you're in the case where the dip is actually a good exercise for you to build muscle, because some people like to compare it to like a squat, people say it's like the upper body version of a squat, then I challenge you, do a test for yourself, I promise you. Do a pseudo planche push-up, do a vertical pressing like a handstand push-up or even a military press, and then do some sort of tricep isolation exercise, maybe an extension or even a rope pull down, something like that. I guarantee you, you're not gonna notice any sort of difference in terms of muscularity or strength by not including dips in your routine. Test it for 3 months, 6 months, even a year. Come back to me and let me know if I was right. I guarantee you I will be. Now, as I said before, I don't demonize dips altogether. In some cases, I do like to do like a burnout set of bodyweight dips, you know, doing like 20 plus reps, 25 plus reps. Or in some rare cases, I'll even get on the dip machine because I realize that I can do that and it doesn't, you know, yield me sternum pain. But that's once again, just me doing alternative exercises that work the same muscle group, just not going back to what, in my opinion, causes too much injury and then is overrated in the first place. So guys, that's exactly why I stopped doing dips. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree or disagree. I'm sure most of you guys would disagree, but let me know why you still do dips. Like, give me an explanation on why you still personally decide to do dips, or if you stop doing it, let me know why you stopped doing it too. Let me know down below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.